Jingle jingle friends! Welcome to holidays at Harmony Hills Home and Garden. Today we're going full on Candyland theme. We're making 5 different ornaments to go on our Candyland themed Christmas tree, starting with these circus animal frosted crackers. These fun and whimsical lollipops. We'll make some giant sized candy coated chocolate balls, some peppermint pinwheel lollipops, and some light and glittery and fluffy cotton candy. Come with me and let's figure out how to make these faux treats for the Candyland theme. I wanted to have some of these animal crackers that look just like these Mother's frosted animal crackers that I so enjoy myself. I'm going to use air dry clay. I'm using the Das brand air dry clay to make these animal crackers. I'm going to condition the clay by rubbing it in my hands and rolling it around. Then roll them out flat, just like they were cookies. And then I'm going to use these animal cracker cookie cutters that I got off of Amazon to cut out little cookies in the shape of the circus animals. These are wonderful shape. They are just like the animal crackers you buy at the store. The cutters left a little bit of a rough edge around the bottom of the back of each of the shapes, so I just used my fingers to smooth that out before I laid them down on a piece of parchment paper onto the side. I also could sand them later if I wanted to get rid of any of those rough edges. I used a kitchen skewer to make a hole for putting a string later so I could hang them as ornaments. I could have also used a toothpick or a straw or any number of other pointy implements to do this job. I made 5 of each shape of the animals for a total of 25 animal crackers, and with the leftover clay I made the letter L as the initial for my grandson. Now I just have to let them air dry for a couple of days. I turned them over about every 12 to 16 hours or so just to make sure they were drying evenly on each side. This clay dries into a nice light gray, almost white color, so you can definitely tell when it's done drying. To make a really thick and glossy icing for these cookies, I'm going to use Quick Seal adhesive caulk and Mod Podge. The caulk is white and Mod Podge is clear when it dries. I'm going to mix it with this Pink Parfait Apple Barrel paint, and then I'll do another batch in white as well. Now I'm not doing any measuring, I'm just doing this all by eye, but I did learn that I would have preferred to have a little bit more caulk in the mixture and less liquid in the mixture. So in future batches I ended up doubling or even tripling this amount of caulk. I'm just mixing these 3 ingredients together. Just mix, mix, mix. Try to get out all the lumps of the caulk. Now these frosted circus animal crackers have the iconic little multicolored candy balls on top of them. So I bought these off of Etsy, I believe, but I think you can probably find them on Amazon as well. These are made out of polymer clay and they are not edible. Don't let your kids near these. Okay, next up, just start painting. Using the pink on about 15 of them, I think, and then I switched to white for the other 10 for a total of 25. And I learned that I needed to put the paint a little bit thicker than I was doing on this very first one, but I learned over time. So unfortunately I had made my paint mixture too thin and the balls all rubbed off as soon as I handled them. So I made another paint mixture with a little bit thicker caulk, and then I went back and did a second coat, leaving it a little bit thicker, and that allowed all those balls to adhere better onto each of the crackers. And then after they all dried on the front, I did the same thing on the back. I turned them all over and made a thicker icing mixture and made it look a little bit more like that thick frosting that's on the original real cookies. After I let all those dry, it's a matter of putting strings on them and hanging them on the tree. They look so sweet. They look really similar to the original cookies, the Mother's brand animal cracker circus animals, and I really love the way they add that pink and white theme to the Christmas tree. Next up, we're making these fun and whimsical lollipops that look like they're covered with candies. These supplies are pretty simple and easy to find. I'm using styrofoam balls that I got at Michael's. These came in a package of 12, I believe, and I think that they are 1.5 inches in diameter, or maybe 2 inches in diameter. And then these wooden dowels that I got from the Dollar Tree, and these foam vase filler pastel colored beads that I got from Dollar Tree. Now be careful, these are staticky and they stick to everything. I'm also using Mod Podge. You could use any type of Mod Podge here. It doesn't matter if it's satin or gloss or whatever, because it's not going to be seen. It's just going to be the glue that holds things together. Start by putting a wooden dowel into one of the styrofoam balls. I tried to just poke it in there on its own, but it was too blunt. So then I got out something pokey, and I poked the holes first, and then I put some Mod Podge glue on the end of the dowel and stuck it in the ball. Now I got these foam pieces so that I could stick this into there to let it dry once I was done. Alright, so paint your Mod Podge onto the styrofoam ball, and then cover it with foam balls. That's pretty simple, isn't it? I found that sometimes the little foam balls didn't want to lay perfectly flat and even in one layer. Sometimes they bumped out and were a little bit above the surface of where I wanted them, so I spent some time just checking all of them and making sure that all of the balls were laying down right up against the big styrofoam ball. After they were all dry, I decided to seal them in with some Glitter Blast sealer. So this is a clear sealer that has some iridescent glitter in it, but I'm adding more iridescent glitter to it as well. The Glitter Blast doesn't have as much glitter in it as I wanted. And there they are, looking really cute, glittery and fun. Now you could totally paint these dowel rods white if you wanted. I didn't care about that. I just wrapped some curly ribbon around them in purple and blue, and they're done. Okay, so these are the simplest, most easy things ever. Now the idea is that these candies are giant versions of these Sick Flicks, which are chocolate balls covered with a candy coating, sort of like M&Ms, but more of a sphere shape. All I did was paint some styrofoam balls with acrylic paint and wrap them in cellophane. That's it. So I don't even have a video about it. It's so easy. I got the styrofoam at the Dollar Tree and also the cellophane at the Dollar Tree. And that is it. Simple, simple. These pinwheels are a little bit more involved than the last one, but they start out with styrofoam discs, which I purchased 2 for $1.25 from the Dollar Tree, and then also wooden dowels in about 12-inch lengths, I believe, which I also purchased at the Dollar Tree. I had pulled out some red, white, and green acrylic craft paint. I ended up only using the red. I also pulled out some glitter in green and red. I ended up only using the red of that as well. The first step in this project is to insert the wooden dowel into the styrofoam disc. I'm using some low temperature hot glue to make sure that it stays adhered to the styrofoam. I'm making the pinwheel version first, so I want to mark the center and then 8 equidistant spots around the circumference of this circle. So I got out a pen and that didn't work. So then I got out a puffy paint bottle and I marked 8 equal distance spots around the circle. So top, bottom, left and right, and then in between each of those as well, for a total of 8. Puffy paint was probably not the best idea to use because it got a little messy, but oh well. And now I want to make 8 curved lines that go from each of those points on the edge around a curve to the center. And I'm using a ballpoint pen here to kind of mark the styrofoam. It's not the best thing to use, but it's what I ended up doing. So each of those 8 points around the edge connected with the edge of a solo cup to the center point to make 8 different wedges that are curved on the side. I hope that makes sense. Maybe here you can see those curved wedges that mark out the swirls of the lollipop. The next step is to paint every other wedge red and leave the others white. So I learned a long time ago that if you have any sort of alternating pattern, you should mark your wedges before you get going. That way you don't make any mistakes. So I put dots on the 4 wedges that are going to be red, and then I'm going to use a smaller, very sort of soft tipped paintbrush to hand paint the wedges with red paint. Okay, so now that the top's done, I'm going to go ahead and bring that red line down, just straight down around the edges of the outside of the lollipop. And I'm just going to set that aside to dry in this vase. This is a vase that I bought, oh gosh, 20 years ago from Southern Living Home Decor. It's like Pampered Chef, you had to have a party in order to buy the items. Anyway, this is a vase with a built-in frog top. And I love to use it for drying paint projects in the craft room. And now I'm going to go on and make my second one of this same style using the same method. The second style of these lollipops is to make a spiral. Now on these I am just freehanding it. I'm starting with paint at the center, and then I'm just painting freehanded a spiral that goes out and then all the way around to the edge of the disc. To be the most successful with this, I found that if I concentrate on keeping the white part the same width as I went around the spiral, then I was able to keep the spiral in a nice circular shape. And sometimes when I was extending the red line, I would make little dots to line my to make my line, and then I just filled in with the paint. Now as I got closer to the edge, what I did was I just took that red paint all the way right up to the edge of the disc, and I just let it fall off. And then it was time to make sure that all my red lines were equal distance width and nice clean crisp edges. And then I started to paint the outside edge red as well. I used this puff paint from Tulip, this is metallic silver, to make nice crisp outlines along the edges of the red and white wedges on the pinwheel lollipop. My paint lines just weren't as straight and clean as I wanted them, so this helps cover that up. I also pulled that silver line down around the edge on the outside of the disc. And in the center, a nice generous dollop for just a finishing touch. I did that for both of the pinwheel type lollipops. On these spirals, I thought there was something missing, and also I wasn't really happy with the messiness of my lines that I had painted. So I'm taking this red puff paint from Tulip, and I'm just making a single line spiral right on top of the other red line, and then I'm going to douse it in red glitter. And hopefully that will add just enough pizzazz to the project to make them look a little less handmade, or even though they are handmade, a little bit more festive. So I needed some drying time. In fact, most of these projects required drying time, so I was doing them all kind of at the same time. That's why they're all in the same video. So a few days later I came back and I painted the last of the spirals. I decided to try going from the outside in this time, and again keeping the same amount of white space and red space, and it turned out to be a better circle, so I was happier with that approach. Now I'm just repeating the same thing with the wedge shapes on the other side of the pinwheels, and I'm painting them and I'm outlining them with silver as well, and doing the red glitter on the spiral ones as well. So same process, just on the other side. Now I ran out of red puff paint, so I ended up using red low temp hot glue, and that works pretty well also. I would say they're not exactly the same, but close enough, and certainly on the Christmas tree they'll be good enough. And here they are, all finished. I added some cute little red bows just made out of ribbon, and I could have but didn't paint the dowels white. I think they turned out pretty cute. And the last project for today are these really cute fluffy cotton candies. I went to the Dollar Tree to the makeup section and I found this blush. It's a very light pink color. It cost $1.25 and it was perfect for this purpose. I'm using my regular old makeup brush here, and then I'm going to use some polyfiber buffalo snow. Now this is the stuff that you put around the base of your Christmas tree to look like snow. You could also use pillow stuffing I think it's essentially the same product. So I just take a clump of that buffalo snow material and I spread it out kind of flat, kind of get it as equally thick as I can. There are some holes in it, but that's okay. And then because this is the third one I did actually, I have some pink blush powder on the table, so I'm just mopping that up with this last third piece of cotton. Okay, it's not real cotton, it's polyfiber. So then I just take my blush brush and the blush itself and I just apply blush to this white fiber. Now I am trying to cover all of the white color of this fibrous material with pink, so I'm going for full coverage here. Now you could choose to keep some of the white showing and only really do just the surface of it, but I'm trying to get the pink all the way onto each of those white polyfibers in this material. So I just keep working at it, kind of working the blush onto the material. Next I'm using a wooden dowel. They're about 12 inches long. These again are the same that I bought at Dollar Tree. And I'm going to use some low temperature hot glue, put it on the dowel, and then roll this colored polyfiber up onto the wooden dowel. About a third of the way through, I go ahead and add another line of the low temp hot glue, just to keep it, you know, kind of all together. And I just add some glue every now and again, just as I feel like it needs it to hold together. After you get it all rolled up and glued on, then you just start fussing with it. The fibers hold on to themselves, and so you can kind of move them around and tuck them in, sort of like felting wool. And then I'm just mopping up all the rest of the blush, and there we go, that's done. Of course, I can't leave well enough alone, so I'm going to put some glitter on. I'm using Krylon Glitter Blast Diamond Dust Spray Paint. It's supposed to have glitter in it, but I find it doesn't have as much glitter as I want, so I'm using also some iridescent extra fine glitter to add on to after I have sprayed the cotton candy balls. And now, look how glittery. Oh, it's so cute! Do that with the other one as well. I added a silver curly ribbon to the stems of each one of them, and they are done. They look adorable. That's it, friends. 5 different ornaments. I'll put some links in the description box below for sources for the products that I used to make these. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and I hope you're enjoying a wonderful holiday season.